All right, here we go. We're going. This is the second of the VOD reviews, or the POV VOD reviews that I wanted to do today on this one. This is the same Eichenwalde map as the Mercy one, but we're watching the McCree this time. As far as all the people to set up on that high ground, I think McCree is probably one of the better ones. So you're just kind of throwing damage in right now. And this is probably not a great thing to... I just want to understand more stuff, but the shots are going to look weird in half speed. But yeah, you should definitely... First of all, the Mercy should be with you in this situation, which is in the Mercy VOD. But this fire should be your main target right now. And if he had the damage boost on you right now, I think she would have died. So yeah. And yeah, in the VOD review, if we're watching this in slow motion, it's gonna make a lot of the shots look a lot easier to hit than they are. But yeah, you delete her, you clap her. So yeah, you should put a lot of focus on trying to deny this res. You should have kind of expected the Mercy to go for this res, and have played aggro and have been able to flashbang her, because you could have flashbang would have stopped this res right here. But you kill her anyways, she doesn't get the res up, so it doesn't matter. Reinhardt jumps off the map with the Hammond. Oh. I think you banged there, that was kind of weird. Again, the Mercy should kind of be with you, trying to heal you up through this. I like this flank, but you need to be more careful of this fire. This fire is going to be the main thing causing you problems. You can... Depends on how she's playing. She seems like she's actually playing pretty aggro, so I don't really mind the way you're playing here. But there are... This high ground up here, up on top of the... what is this? This is the lodge. I think they call this lodge, is the caller for this building. Playing on the second ground of the high ground of this lodge is a pretty good place if we're playing back on point, but the tanks are playing forward, so I don't mind you playing forward here. But right now you're not really giving too much information. You can be playing more close to your Reinhardt. But yeah, so now you see the Pharah. And you're putting a lot of pressure on her, on this McCree. She isn't really getting too much value, on this first point at least. But she probably would have died more often here if we had more consistent damage boost on you here. And then she gets the nano boost. You definitely gotta run away from that, because she's gonna hit you with a splash damage and kill you. Unlucky. The Mercy goes for the res. I don't like the res, but that's for the other bot. So yeah, we respawn. Oh, we're coming back. We were able to sustain through that fight, which is good. Tanks and the Junkrat helped us win that fight. Alright, so you get the Junkrat really low, and the Zarya's gonna right click and clean him up, which is nice. And they swap. They match the McCree now. So now this is a much easier play for you now. Oh, that's weird. The stun didn't connect on the Reinhardt. That it looked like it should have. By the way, yeah, you should be on this Ana right now. And actually, I wouldn't have disliked you continuing to peek here and putting pressure on that Ana. But you do rotate to be with your tanks, and that is also good. We lose our Brigitte, which is unfortunate. And were you aware of that McCree there? Because he's kind of winning that matchup against the enemy McCree is kind of your main job on the McCree. If you can be putting, so yeah, you notice he's there, and you do start putting damage into him. So you flank around and try and go for this high noon. I'm not the biggest fan of this high noon, but honestly, it does catch them pretty off guard. And you get them pretty low. They do get you, but it's pretty good, and it does set up your team to win that fight. So I do like it overall.
Back in the saddle again. 60 seconds remaining.
kind of hard when it's the VOD the replay viewer as well. So I can't really see like your aim, your shakiness and stuff like that in your hands. It's kind of hard to see that. But you seem like you don't. You kind of, if anything, you can do like these kind of small like micro flicks and stuff like that. But when you get to like the larger flicks, you don't really seem to be very as consistent on hitting them. So usually the first one isn't always spot on, and you seem to be aiming for center of mass, which to me usually indicates a less confidence in your aim. If you're just kind of going, if you're not specifically going for headshots. But yeah, so our team's all dead here. I don't think you can survive on your own when we still got 5 people on the point. So I'm not really gonna point out anything more there. Maybe to the next thing. But yeah, this would be a nice thing if we could try and find some way to get like a POV recording for like individuals on their PC. So yeah, you see, you clap him. And I like this positioning up in the castle on the high ground here. You pressure the Ana, she hits a shot on you, but the Reinhardt's able to clean it up. You're just putting shield pressure in right now. You get a headshot on the Reinhardt, force him to put his shield up. The McCree is probably coming up to chase you now. So you get a headshot on the Junkrat, and he's forced to back out. You weren't aware of the McCree though behind you. I think I heard him walking. So that's just unfortunate. That was kind of an awareness thing that we can work on. Is maybe you need to turn your volume up a little bit more. I'm not sure, or maybe the comms were in the way. You couldn't hear.
Let's start over at the beginning.
But we should be able to. We should have been a little bit more aware that he might have tried to flank there. That was the only really thing. But I like the positioning there. You saw he was there again. And then he just beat you to the flashbang, which is unfortunate, but we just keep moving on then. Oh, so we have high noon now. So I would like to see you kind of try and position yourself for a high noon. So you get hit for the high noon, but you don't die to it. You go down for the health back. Don't mind that. Now that you have the high noon and there McCree, I don't know if you saw him drop, but if you didn't, you should call out if he dropped, because if he didn't drop, there's nothing wrong with coming up here and doing the same thing to him, high nooning from up here. The team is kind of dead now at this point though, so I don't really hate the backing up. Or you do go for it onto the point anyways to try and stall. Yeah, I think that high noon probably wouldn't have been the best idea as the tank died right there. But in most cases it kind of would have been. And then there was the tire. You cleaned up the tire pretty well. So what are we on? We're on normal speed now. So we pop the grav. Pop the high noon into the grav. But you kind of go a little too far forward and the McCree gets you. Because high noon has no fall off damage. You could have stayed back behind this pillar and just you could have put yourself in a place where his fall off damage would have affected him. Because I don't know exactly the scale of things in the game, but if he was in that's the wrong color. If he's in the grav here, right, and you're all the way back here, if that isn't his full like fall off range, then it's probably pretty close to it. High noon doesn't get affected by that, and they're all being pushed by the payload up in the front into you. You get reds here, and you're aware of the Junkrat, so you immediately go for the Junkrat. And yeah, you should be able to win that. So yeah, and you did the right thing there for the Junkrat. With the Junkrat, you want to keep your distance. But McCree has a pretty good fall off range, so you can kind of afford to keep yourself further back in a lot of these situations, because I think it's like 30-35 meters, and then we call for the swap. So we swap you over to the Reaper here, which is what we called, and he is better for this point. But in like post analysis, I don't think we needed to swap the Kree off. I think the Reaper would, or I don't think we needed. Yeah, I don't think we needed to swap the Kree off. I think the Kree was fine. But the Reaper does do a pretty good job as well. Especially that they're running the Doomfist. If we knew they were gonna, if we had seen the Doomfist, I would have said to stay on the Kree, because the stun is really good against him. So you're forced to back up, so that you get some heals, but you're back. You get shattered, which is unfortunate. And they should clean it up. So yeah, you only have 38% of your ultimate. So honestly, I kind of almost want to say going back to McCree might have been the play. Because against their DPS comp now, when they're running Junkrat and Doomfist, McCree is very heavily the best pick to play against those, whereas Reaper kind of does. Reaper needs to get close to a Junkrat to get to a lot of value. You need to play close to the Junkrat to get a lot of value as Reaper, and you do for the Doomfist as well, but both of them have like very good one-shot potentials on you if you get that close to them. Sorry, and then this kind of walking out the door, you get deleted by the Pharah. This isn't your fault. I think we should be holding Rhine Shield as we come out this door and do a better job of blocking this damage. Because yeah, you just get hit 3 times and die to the splash damage. Mercy goes for the res. Takes you back. But now you should definitely be focusing on this Pharah and trying to at all times be aware of where she might be peeking out from. As you're kind of the only thing that can help us keep this Pharah off of our team. We get their Junkrat. You're just going to put in some poke damage in. And overall, I think it's safer for most of us to try and play more aggro here, but you are playing back behind the shield. So I prefer that to you going forward at this point. But if you just look at her ultimate charge, the amount of value she got out of this she's at 85% of her ultimate already. The only one who's even close to that is the Mercy, who's pretty close to the same now. She just passed her with healing, but that's just healing the damage the Pharah's been doing. So you have the damage boost now. So I don't know, did you see the Pharah? Okay, you did see the Pharah doing this. This is something we can kind of work on and get better at expecting. When Pharahs come aggro like this, whether they use their rocket or whatever to push themselves closer to you, always just flashbang here before they even get the ultimate off. Don't wait for the ultimate, like flashbang early, because you can, in most cases, you'll hit them with the flashbang before they'll hit their ultimate, or before their ultimate starts releasing bullets, but after they've already pressed Q, so they'll lose their ultimate for that. So that's one thing you can do on the McCree, is if she jumps on you, because I don't know why she would want to get much closer to you other than she has her ultimate and she wants to use it on you. So you can afford to use your flashbang there early, and she either drops out of the sky right in front of you and still has her ultimate, but you've flashbanged her and you can get a shot or two on her. And with predictable art, you can even try and get a headshot, which would clean her up with the Mercy damage boost. Or you can try and see, yeah, you got a nice headshot there on the Mercy. But yeah, the main thing right now is you just don't have the damage boost with you, and you're getting focused down by their team because they need to focus you down. If they focus you down, they win this game. So you need to play more defensively because of that. You need to play further back, and you need to make sure like you're on top of like your Mercy. Your Mercy is playing with you, and like shouting at the Mercy to keep you going. But you should try and be using your Rhine Shield as much as possible, or buildings as much as possible. Because you just she's able to use she's kind of jiggle peeking on the wall there, and just peeking out just to throw rockets at you. Yeah, but that was just lucky. That's just spam damage. She's about to come over and barrage now, right? We should have heard that, because I heard her make a sound. Then you are able to turn around to help clean that up. Protect the Mercy. The Mercy goes for the res though, and then you're just early on the flashbang. But you do kill the Pharah. You just do tap her as soon as she gets back up. And we just have to regroup though. We swept the Ash as well from the Junkrat. And block the jump trap. But yeah, especially now that you have High Noon, I wouldn't have a problem with you trying to go up onto this high ground, setting up here, try and get a High Noon from up here or whatever, and this also makes it a little bit easier for you to pressure the Widow, or not the Widow, the Pharah, because she has no high ground she can hide behind if you're on the high ground with her. So yeah, and then you pop the high ground, or you pop the high noon up here on the low ground. Junkrat jumps up for whatever reason and dies. We body block for you. Are able to keep you alive a little while, but the Pharah is going to try and pressure you down. You are able to sneak down towards the health back room, but you don't need it. And then the Pharah just gets the shots on you because she has the Mercy pocket and our Mercy is already dead. So yeah, I would have liked to see you have rotated to the high ground there. Is the main thing on that push through the left staircase and up onto the high ground. And then yeah, so they double support ultimate again on the Pharah, which is poor choice, but you know, pocket the carry. We swapped in the D.Va as well to try and deal with this fire even more. There's a Junkrat trap, Reinhardt breaks, and then you just get spammed down by the. That's the one thing is McCree is very fragile, and the ham and fire combo just kind of ruins you.
Might be on tilt. Might be, I don't care.
But yeah. Killed here, but are still pressuring you down. So you get some heals, but yeah, it's the same kind of situation. You have the high noon again, and you're not on the high ground. So like it was easier from the LOSU. The Pharah didn't die to that because she LOS'd you. It was the D.Va who cleaned her up afterwards. And then this is. I don't know if it's your misplay or whose misplay this is, but somebody made a big mistake here letting this Pharah get by. Okay, I'm gonna have the same issue with this situation that I had. Okay, that's a great time for me to have paused to try and explain what I'm trying to explain. You killed the McCree, or the Reaper. Okay, so this screen shows me my example of what I'm trying to say. So this is actually pretty good. You're watching this main doorway here, which is the only thing you really have to worry about from them. You know but you can see this doorway, and you could a second ago see that doorway there. But my point is that with the exception of this little doorway here, and possibly this one until your D.Va goes through. The Mercy does this as well. All of this information on your screen means nothing. So the only things that you care about are what's going on in this square. And you can even move your crosshair up. I would place my crosshair right there, because that means if an average height person, which would be Pharah, tries to peek through this doorway, her head hitbox is right here. Right? So you would have your crosshair already on her head if she tried to go through. I don't necessarily think you need to be standing on the payload. You can be standing next to the payload. Okay, I went out of first person there, so I didn't see that. But see, as you got closer, you couldn't see the window when she popped through the window. She 3-tapped you again. And the Mercy was doing the same thing. The Mercy didn't have the awareness to see that either. So neither one of you knew that the Pharah was going to come through that window. But if either of you had, you could have flashbanged. You could have had damage boost on you. You could have flashbanged. And you could have tried to go for the headshot and have killed the Pharah there. But you weren't able to, and now it doesn't really matter because that's the fight. We're not going to be able to recontest. It's just the Reinhardt on point. And now he's dead. So yeah. Really, I think the biggest thing is just we can kind of work on this ultimate usage. The high noons, I don't really particularly dislike the high noons, and the timing on the high noons are pretty good. But I think you weren't setting yourself up for as much success when the high noons. You weren't putting yourself in like a high ground situation or whatever. That people were like, especially with high noon, because high noon basically is a respawn button for McCree in most cases. You stand still, you light up like a Christmas tree, and you make the loudest noise in the game. So it is very hard to actually pull off a high noon very well without your team supporting you, but being on that high ground makes it harder for them to LOS you, and you can try and get a fast kill on somebody. But really the main thing I can kind of say with your play there is you seem like you're not very confident in your aim, which I'm not really sure which component it is. It's a little bit hard to see when in the replay viewer, because it doesn't have like your actual what your client side saw. But I think just practicing like flick training and stuff like that for the McCree would be pretty good for you, because you have pretty good aim, but you seem like you don't feel confident in your aim. You hit a lot of shots. You hit most of your shots, but you seem to, because of the lack of confidence in it, you aim for body shots. You don't go for headshots. Or at least to me, it seemed like you were always aiming center of mass. Whereas you want to be able to differentiate between body shots and headshots when you're kind of looking at a target, and you want to try and always, especially on McCree, headshots are just so devastating for McCree. If you can focus down headshots, that's so much better for McCree. So that's the main thing. I think I sent it in previously in the chat somewhere. I'll put it in the description of this video as well. But there's the aim trainer that I usually use in Overwatch that's a really good one. So yeah, that's the McCree stuff.